Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming here, and I love everything that I see on this barrel. I love the bottle design. It's very unique. What can we taste today?
Yeah, we have three different products that we offer to the market. We have a 100 proof 4-grain bourbon, and it's kind of our standard bourbon. The off-white label is the same bourbon, but single barrel bottled always, and cask strength, so straight from the cask to the bottle. And then we have malted rye whiskey or rye malt whiskey.
Nice.
In the gold label. And that little bottle right there in the middle is that's a special one. So is the copper wax one.
Yeah, a little bit of a moonshine there.
Yeah. Technically, it's not. It's all kind of moonshine. But yeah, it's that one I pulled this morning for you. It's barrel 1876, 2018, number 76 we made. And it was featured in the Whiskey Advocate magazine in the Texas article that was there a few years ago, and it scored 90 points. Well, now it's double the age, so it's 6 years old. It's a great barrel. And then the copper wax one was my favorite barrel.
Okay.
So when we opened our tasting room last year in August, day one, we released this barrel, and this is my favorite barrel that I've ever made. But it's a bourbon that's been resting in a malted rye barrel for 4 years plus. And so it's about a 5.5-year-old. Back then, it was a 5.5-year-old whiskey when I bottled it. And this is all I have left, by the way. That's right there. So I've got to take the rest of it home. When we're
okay. Hey, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's a
well, since that's your favorite,
it's a beautiful whiskey.
Can we have a taste of it?
Absolutely.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we make a 4-grain bourbon, quite a bit different from the traditional 3-grain bourbons that 90% of distilleries make.
Yeah.
4 grains being corn, rye, wheat, and malt.
Okay.
Cheers.
Oh,
yeah.
Salud.
Yeah, salud.
Oh, yes.
Well, there's a lot going on.
There's
First
a lot
sip
going
is
on.
always kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me what, no wrong answer.
No, I know. It really reminds me of, I don't know, like being in a rancho. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so the idea of something that you need early in the morning, maybe, while you do some work.
Yeah.
And so it does. It kind of you got to have a good, I would say, good gut for it, no?
We call that, I'm taking your words to, we call it chewy bourbon.
Okay.
It coats the mouth.
Yep.
And it feels more thicker. It just feels thicker.
It does. It really does.
Now, the neat thing about that, well, there's a lot of technicalities on how to get that, but we leave, our distillation process leaves a lot of the product in, a lot of the oils in.
Right.
And if we did that and it had a bitterness to it, like what's happening right now in your palate,
yeah,
no bitterness,
yeah,
that's a good thing.
Okay.
If there's bitterness, then usually you want to get a water and
sure.
But we it's part of our process, our distillation process. We like that chewiness of the bourbon, the thickness of the bourbon.
Yeah, I love it. So and it stays with you too.
Yes, very fruit forward. Heavy on caramel, obviously.
Yeah.
Heavy on buttered toast.
Yeah.
White pepper.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way,
you're
sipping. So good spice.
Yep.
If you can taste that. We're a 4-grain bourbon.
Yeah.
Not traditional 3. So we like that spice of the rye, but we also like the smooth sweetness of wheat.
Yeah.
And then we have a high malt content of 13% malt. But yeah, this is a very special barrel in it, that it's resting in. It was resting in a malted rye barrel for a number of years, but it's a good one. It's special.
Nice. Oh, yeah, I love it, and I could kind of taste it, and I could tell the way you talk about it, and how that one doesn't have a label. So, you're truly small batch, right?
Yes.
And so, why is that important for you?
It keeps personality in the whiskey. Obviously, we would love to make massive amounts of whiskey.
Yeah, sure.
We would love to sell massive amounts of whiskey, But we really do like pots. Pot distilling is the key to creating flavors that you're tasting. Versus a column still or a continuous column still.
Yeah.
Pot distilling really keeps the personality of what you created in the fermenter. It keeps it in the whiskey. If we didn't pot distill, it would just be a little more cleaner alcohol. It'd be less of that chewiness.
Right.
And but we like that grain forward, kind of bigger, bolder whiskey, and that's pot. So we can. Since we moved to Palestine, we've doubled our production capacity, and we have the option to do it again, do another double.
Nice.
But yeah, we want to make good pot distilled whiskey.
And you're kind of a diehard around that grain to glass approach, right?
Yes.
And so why?
It's just, I started the company in 2016 with that one mindset of I like to make things. I like to create things. In our future, we're probably going to have a source whiskey, a totally separate product, separate brand and everything. But I resisted that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was so into just keeping things that I make on the shelf. So we started in 2016. We didn't have a bottle in market until 2019.
Oh, wow.
And we started distilling in 2017, mid-2017. And, to market, we were in the market for 1 year and then COVID hit, but it was, it's been a life, or it's been a few years of trial and error and perseverance and hard work, a lot of hard work. But grain to glass is the key. I just like working hard. I like getting my hands dirty, and I like milling grains. I'm a cook. If you really think about it.
Yeah, you're cooking here.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm a corn chef, but I make really good polenta.
I love it. And so how do you compete with those distilleries that are like really into the mass production of it?
Really, it's not easy, but just try to portray to the consumer through tours, through our socials. But try to portray that this is it's made by hands right here.
Yeah.
The blood, sweat, and tears of essentially of distilling is literally what you're tasting. It's a small batch operation. There's sweat in every bottle. There's a lot of time. We want to keep pushing. I don't want to stop getting or making better. I think the second I kind of say, well, I've made as good as I can make, then I'll usually probably move on.
Yeah.
This is something, it's so dynamic, and there's so many things that can change the whiskey and the product that, it's open-ended. I see a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're very hands-on.
Yes.
Like,
I clean the toilets. I sweep the floors.
Yes, everything.
Yeah, we distill, bottle. Yeah. I was mentioning earlier to one of the people here, I touch the bottle 9 times from the barrel, and when it's done and ready to bottle, I touch it 9 times before it gets in the box. So it's hand dipped, it's hand wrapped, it's hand labeled. Everything's written on by hand. Nice. We'll have bottling parties in the future. And we've had a few, but
yeah. So was this your vision for it from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, our vision was just to make a very good, solid, quality bourbon. In the initial distillery warehouse, talking with my brother, just kind of talking about, well, what mash bill do we want to do? We started a number of months before actually starting to distill, but. My brother likes a really spicy whiskey. One of my other partners likes a more smooth, almost weeded whiskey. I'm somewhere in the middle. I like both. I really do. I like a spicy. I'm very open to both. But literally, that's the conversation, was talking with both my brother and my other partner. And we were just like, well, hey, I said, why don't we just use both grains?
Right.
Rye and wheat. And let's make a 4-grain bourbon. That's literally how it came about.
That really kind of.
And we haven't changed our bourbon recipe since.
Nice.
So, and then 13% malt. It's a very big part of what you're tasting as well as our malt mix. We use 3 different malts. We rely more. Well, we rely on malt just as much for converting starch to sugar,
Right.
but for flavor. So that's actually how we discovered malted rye. When I put rye malt, which is in our bourbon, when I put that in our bourbon mash, the difference in what it creates in smell and savoriness. I was on top of the mash tun one time, dumping in, dusty and dumping in the grains. And I'm like, man, this is so good. And we were discussing a rye.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't we do a malted rye? There you go. We started malted rye. There are only about 7 in the world, 8 in the world when we started it. Now there's a lot now, but yeah, it's a very different product, very different rye. It's very savory, very more toffee, a little more anise. Obviously, a lot of rye.
Sweet. You get that sweetness, right?
Well, it's a good amount of sweetness, but really that spice is there, but it's nothing like a traditional rye berry.
So you're based in Palestine, and the name TahWahKaro is Native American. Why did you select that name?
Yeah, I mean, when we were, decided, I called my brother and said, hey, would you want to help me get a distillery started here? My brother owns Axe and Oak Distilling Company in Colorado. And so I was watching what they were doing up there and like, hey, I'd really like to do one down here in Texas. I feel like Texas people love Texas product, first of all, like to support Texas product. And so, we decided, to get it going. And we were studying history, just looking at some of the historic, I was living in Grapevine at the time, and we found the 1843 Texas Treaty of Peace that was signed. I started the signature process by Texas President Sam Houston at TahWahKaro Spring or Creek in 1843, and so that started the signature process. Started the end of the North Texan War, and allowed people to start coming to this area and move into the area. It was a cool Grapevine Creek now. Used to be called TahWahKaro.
Yeah, so it's rooted in that area, that region.
It was the water. It was where everybody got water in this whole area, or in that whole area.
Right. It's like the resources of the land.
Yes.
And I don't know, like Texas gives a lot of resources to, I think, a lot of distilleries, right?
Absolutely.
So what has Texas given you?
I mean, our terroir, or our general flavor profile is what Texas has given. I mean, to see a 6-year-old bourbon with that deep and dark color is pretty amazing. Heat, volatility.
Right.
Texas has something very different on the maturation of our barrels. It produces a lot more rapidly aging barrel. You have to be very careful with it. We lose a lot of angel share. And, but our grains, growing corn in Texas is not the easiest thing, but we use North Texan corn, and it's and wheat and rye as well. But it produces a really flavorful whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, we're nice and cool in the studio, but you go outside, it feels 110.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so, how do you acclimate to that?
Well, that volatility is a part of, I think, what makes our whiskeys so intriguing and good and enticing for the market. But the volatility is really what happens in this barrel when the barometric pressure goes up and down, the heat and cool goes up and down. We'll have a 30 temperature difference swing in one day in Texas, and everybody knows about it. It's like I was sweating yesterday, and now I'm chilly, and I have a jacket on. That causes the barrel to open and close. The wood itself swells and contracts and swells and contracts.
Of course,
And that causes the whiskey to get into the pores of the wood and then get pushed back out. And that's why, it produces such a big, dark, bold whiskey. We also barrel our whiskeys, what's called barrel entry proof. We barrel pretty high. Usually no lower than 120. I've played around a little bit in the teens, but that special bottle, that small bottle, is 139 proof.
Wow.
And I actually mentioned it earlier. I didn't know. I was going to ask you, what do you, because you're sipping almost 140 proof bourbon, but it sips very smooth.
Yeah.
And again, that's a part of our process. That having those oils in there is really good.
It's very appropriate right before lunch.
Yes, exactly. Go take a nap. But yeah, it'll give you a good little buzz.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to try that one as well. And, you know, I think when we think about the Texas Whiskey Trail, we think about destinations, right? And so what would attract people to Palestine and TahWahKaro?
Sure. Yeah, we have great restaurants. We have a lot of events, and it's just a beautiful town. It has a lot of historic significance as well. A lot of registered historic buildings, but the people, most importantly, they're great people. Very friendly, very engaging, and you know, open their arms and give you a big hug. It's a cool place. Yeah.
I'm a hugger myself.
Yeah. Hey, I never shy from a hug. But you know, and then the distillery, obviously, we have a tasting room as well, open on Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay.
So you can come and hang out in a cool cocktail bar.
Nice.
With all of our product.
And you know, we were talking earlier about some folks that were using some of your bourbon to create some foods, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, we partnered with Bee King out of Canton, and it's great because they took one of our emptied barrels, just a 30-gallon barrel, and filled it with honey and let it sit for 3 months, and then extracted the honey, which we sold out of already, by the way, in the tasting room. But they sold our honey as well. And then we got the barrel back.
Okay.
And then we put bourbon back in it.
Oh man!
And then we're going to release that as well in the near future. But just working with people like that on the food side, you know, I'm working with a couple different people. I don't have the concrete, you know, deal done, but I'm working with a couple people for dessert. And barbecue as well.
Oh, love it. I mean, if you're in Texas, you know, and then whiskey, bourbon. I mean, barbecue.
Yes.
Maybe carnitas.
Yes.
You know?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, tacos are some of my favorite food. Period. Absolutely. Had them 3 days ago, or 2 days ago actually. But yeah, it's great.
Well, this is my my final question. Sitting here right now and looking back from where you started, what advice would you give yourself?
Work hard, stay working hard, always persevere. So never give up. You have a vision, you have a passion, just keep promoting it, keep believing it. Don't stop. You know, if you have a true passion for something, if you stay with it and you stay just pushing hard and persevering, it'll become successful. Whether, you know, monetarily or just internally, your heart, you know, stick with it, and but keep pushing. Obviously, we've had a crazy last few, you know, since 2016, crazy time.
Right. Yeah.
But don't let this, you know, crazy world or stuff get you down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep pushing towards what you believe in.
That's right.
That's basically it. Perseverance.
One sip at a time.
Yes, that's right.
Salud.
Cheers. Salud.